Look, Altaria wins the award for coolest dragon design while also being one of the least used competitively. With no good stats other than a little special defense, our cloudy dragon friend is extremely forgotten. But I'm gonna make it sweet people anyways. We can run Dragon Dance to allow it to sorta hit hard and also sorta become fast. Now we can do our best to dish out damage with stab options in Dragon Claw, along with hard-hitting Brave Birds. It's got good coverage in Earthquake, which is burned into my memory from Winona whooping my ass with it. And in general, Altaria is untouched competitively for a reason, but it's cool, so I'm gonna try to make it work. So this thing was definitely designed to be a tank that just doesn't do the job that well. It mostly functions if anybody's using it as like a defogger, but for the most part, it's way more fun to throw Dragon Dance on it and try to make it kill things. And if you're into that kind of thing, you should consider hitting that subscribe button. My goal for the new year is to hit 400,000 subscribers, and you could help me out. Now with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with the Glow King. You know, not really expected, but it's fine. I've got a slug, and we're not super afraid of whatever this shell-headed fella wants to do as a lead. So I have the coverage with Earth Powers, and for the most part, I'm just going to try to set up my Stealth Rock turn 1, kind of scout what Buddy wants to do, and we outspeed, which is not something Gastrodon's used to, but against a slow fella, it feels good. So they actually end up going for the turn 1 Calm Mind, and that's actually, it's more scary than it seems. Turn 1 setup, generally I have some type of answer to it, but honestly, looking at this fella, I don't have the greatest of coverage, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try to put a stop to this immediately in kind of a weird way. So I decided to switch into the Gengar. The plan is to be able to trick this thing a Choice Band, because I figured they'd probably go for a second Calm Mind here, but instead, they actually go for the Eerie Spell, which I also forgot even exists, and that is just gonna kill the Gengar. So that plan certainly did not work. I was really kind of hoping that I could give that thing a Choice Band, make it useless, and then be able to set up on it. But looking at my options now, I decide, guess what? The forecast is calling for clouds, and instead of rain in these clouds, there's gonna be some sweet death. I go into the Altaria because I'm thinking, you know, I can set up a Dragon Dance in this thing's face. And that's just because, you know, I'm pretty specially defensive. And I know I should be able to take an attack. And then after a Dragon Dance setup, an Earthquake just bops the guy. So they actually end up going for the Toxic Spikes, which is perfect because we don't care. I mean, we lost Gengar, so obviously I can't soak him up. But Altaria is actually looking like we're in a pretty good position here. So I am actually deciding I'm going to go for another Dragon Dance. We're going to get a little greedy, and that's because This is a cloudy fella that definitely needs at least 2 Dragon Dances to do any like meaningful damage to stuff. So I get up a second one. They do fire off an Eerie Spell, which we can live thanks to our decent Special D. So we do live the Eerie Spell. We lose some PP, which, you know, is fine on Dragon Dance. And after some leftovers, it's time to go on a little rampage here. I'm gonna bust out the Earthquake, and after 2 Dragon Dances, that should be able to grab a kill on even a physically defensive Slowking. So that actually does take care of it, and now we don't have to worry about getting destroyed by a Calm Mind fella throwing spells out. So at this point, Altaria is actually in a great spot. First of all, because we're faster than everything they've got. And honestly, with +2 attack, we have coverage on a lot of what their checks would be. First of all, they're able to bring in the Hitmontop. I'm thinking, hopefully it's not Intimidate. It is not. It turns out to be Technician. And now that allows us to fire off a Brave Bird. Obviously, we can outspeed. They do not bust out the priority, and the Brave Bird just straight up destroys it. And that is very satisfying to see. Brave Bird's something I feel like you always forget that Altaria even gets. And after some recoil, we do actually live, luckily. You know, knocking it down from full is always scary, but after a little bit of leftovers, Q-Tip is feeling healthy, even though we're out here just flapping slow. So now they decide to bring in a dragon of their own. They're going to go Flygon. We're a couple of Gen 3 dragon fellas looking sick as hell. And also that Flygon's flying high as hell up there, first of all. But second of all, I'm thinking this. I'm faster because of the fact that I have 2 Dragon Dances, even if it's Choice Scarf. However, I am afraid of them going for a defensive Terra. And to cover for that, I'm going to bust out a Terra Fairy of my own. Just in case they want to try to hit me with a Dragon Claw, I can give myself a little second life. So I put the heart on my head. We're looking damn adorable. And I do just straight up outspeed, no defensive Terra. And a Dragon Claw is gonna delete it, which always feels nice. Now, I'll tell you, this is not something Buddy's used to, so we're feeling pretty damn good at this point after some leftovers. We're also, you know, not even in red health out here. So I do have, obviously, the ability to go for another Brave Bird, potentially. But as they bring in the Probopass, this is a guy that, I mean, obviously I can Earthquake it. And this is the kind of nose, while he looks like he's floating up there, he does in fact die to an Earthquake. So I'm like, hey, this is fine. I'm just gonna bust that out and finish up the old body bag. But to my surprise, now they're going to bust out the defensive Terra. They're going to go for the Flying Terra on the Probopass. And now it is freaking Big Nose Mario's birthday, and that's extremely unfortunate because now Altaria is sad, and, you know, he floats above it. But, you know, forcing them to pull out the Terra late game is fine with me. Now, they do actually end up going for the Earth Power. It does hit me because I'm fairy type, but I actually live because this thing just doesn't die to special attacks. And luckily for us, they didn't go for any steel coverage. Surprisingly, we lived that, which is amazing because, I mean, Probopass is the kind of guy that just doesn't die super easily. So honestly, some chip in this situation is extremely valuable. And now I'm able to actually go for a Brave Bird. Of course, I can go for a Dragon Claw and not kill myself to the recoil. But Brave Bird is my best shot to do as much damage as possible. And it does a huge chunk to a defensive guy. So hit him right in the mustache. And I do end up knocking myself out with the Brave Bird, which feels better going down with your own chip than letting them finish me off. So that feels pretty good. They do go for an Earth Power here. And it's going to hit the air. So at this point, I've got this thing chipped enough to where, while I don't even have any great coverage on a flying type Probopass, I do now have the ability to just surely be able to knock it out at this range. So I decide my best bet is to bring back in the Gastrodon here. That's just because I can take any attack it wants to dish out, and then I really want to hit it on the special side. And I'm feeling like a Surf should probably be able to do it. I'm hoping it doesn't have any way to heal or any nonsense, but I'm just going to throw some water at it and just go ahead and water him down. It actually ends up living it because what the hell. And now they go for an Iron Defense, which is fine with me. Obviously, we saw we outspeed. Gastrodon's just the fastest damn Gastro out here today. We're just moving fast as hell. Fast as fuck, boy. But, I mean, with an Iron Defense there, it's probably a body press set. It's not going to be able to get it off, so I'm able to just fire off another Surf. And with the mod they have in the back, I feel like I should be able to bring the game home. So I am just going to go for another Surf, expecting the potential for a switch into the Lantern. And it looks like that's what they're going to go for. Now, as they bring in the Lantern, this thing obviously has the ability to just run Water Absorb. And little Thomas Edison over here with his light bulbs, of course, just soaks it up. Now, that's fine. Obviously, first of all, Probopass cannot come back in on the Stealth Rock. But also, Gastrodon has a great matchup here. Just knowing that I have the coverage and Earth Power, this thing cannot hit me with any electric or water because I'm Storm Drain. And as they go for the Dazzling Gleam, it doesn't do anything, but also I accidentally hit Stealth Rock instead of Spikes. But they just decide to head out anyway. They saw the Dazzling Gleam do nothing. And I was mostly just worried about the Jolteon in the back, but we have coverage against it. And that is going to be the end of the game. Altaria just out here taking lives, which you love to see. And with that, that's going to bring us into our second game, because we're not quite satisfied and there's still some shenanigans to be had. Listen, if you've stuck around this far into the video, go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps out the channel, and, you know, I don't know what it does, but it's fun. So, yeah. With that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent this time is going to go ahead and lead off with regular Tusk, and I'm fully expecting the Donphan lead, which is great for a guy like Gastrodon. I obviously have the coverage, I'm defensive, I can take any attack this thing wants to throw at me, and moral of the story, we're not afraid of this elephant. So they actually end up going for the turn 1 Rapid Spin, probably expecting me to go first, going for Stealth Rock, being able to get rid of it after that, but it doesn't work for them that well, because not only do they go first, they are not able to spin away my rocks I now set up, but they also take Rocky Helmet Chip, breaks this thing's sturdy ability, and that feels pretty good as a Gastrodon, because now I'm in a position where I can just fire off a Surf. You know, if they want to go for another Rapid Spin, that is fine with me, but they actually just decide to go for that knockoff. Does get rid of my Rocky Helmet, which, you know, hey, I was wearing that. It's honestly kind of just knocks it right on the ground, and I'm not sticky hold, so it goes away. But this now allows me to fire off a Surf, luckily now with no sturdy intact. That's just going to knock out the Donphan, which is amazing, and that's about as good as a start as you can get from a Gastrodon. We've got our rocks up. We haven't taken much damage, and we killed the Donphan, which is awesome. So now they can go into whatever they like. They decide to bring in Scizor, and a Scizor matchup here mostly just tells me this thing wants to set up against me. But the good thing for us is that I'm bold and just max defense and HP, and we're really not afraid. So they do go for that Swords Dance turn on the first turn here. I just decide to set up some spikes. You know, they lost their Rapid Spinner, so I figure I'm going to capitalize on that shit and be able to set up some extra hazards. But also, what is also a hazard is this Scizor. He's going to become a problem if it sets up too many Swords Dances. So I realize I should probably try to grab myself some chip here with a little Earth Power. Always run that chance of dropping the special defense. It does a nice little bit there, as now they have 2 Swords Dances up. And I'm just going to fire off another Earth Power. I'm feeling like at 2 Swords Dances, I can still potentially live, you know, depending on what it wants to go for. Its best damage would be like something like an U-turn, but they're definitely not going to click that. So they go for a 3rd Swords Dance. Dude is setting up at +6. Extremely scary. And my next Earth Power knocks it into range where I'm like, that's fine, because I have priority in the back. But as they go for a Bullet Punch, they probably figured Technician boosted +6. Stab Bullet Punch should kill. Wrong. Gastrodon does not die. and then I kill it with an Earth Power. So Gastro is just out here, you know, earning his pokey dinner for the night, and that's pretty damn sick. Now, of course, we're at the point where we're not really useful as a Gastro here. I have no health left, and as they bring in Primarina, it does in fact take some damage from the hazards, but also it can just outspeed me and knock me out. They probably realize this thing's a dick, so they're gonna smooch me to death. So that's gonna be a dead Gastrodon. But with Primarina out here, I'm thinking, obviously, I have a ton of options on what I can potentially bring in here. And one of the worst looking options would be my Dragon type, going into the Fairy type. But guess what? I'm gonna bring in Altaria anyway, because it's Q-tip time, and honestly, most special attackers, I feel like I'm kind of in a position to set up against. Obviously, I'm going to have to pull out my Terra, but that's fine. I'm going to go for that Fairy Terra, just knowing that I can take a Draining Kiss basically no problem after that, and that's going to allow me to set up that Dragon Dance, and then, Brave Bird is looking pretty good against the arena there. So I put the heart on my head, and we're just here to see what old Cloud is made of out here. So obviously, we want to set up some Dragon Dances. We do outspeed, and now the arena is going to be able to get a free show. So at +1 attack and +1 speed, we're looking pretty solid already. But what's even better is they actually go for the Calm Mind here. They probably figure I'm going to be a special attacker. They also probably just confused as shit on what, Altaria is going to even do here. But they go for that Calm Mind, which is perfect. It does, obviously, give them an advantage a bit on their attacking end. But I realize, even at +1, I can take at least an attack from this thing. So I'm going to get greedy once again, go for a second Dragon Dance, because, again, you really need to double these stats for Altaria to do stuff. So as they go for the Draining Kiss at +1 special attack, it actually doesn't even knock us to half, which is amazing. Now, I can't go for another Dragon Dance just because I know I need to hit this thing with a Brave Bird pretty much, and I can't really afford the recoil. But luckily, it's time to be brave already, baby. We're gonna bust it out at +2 attack. It should be able to knock it out, and that is gonna be a dead-ass mermaid. So, that's very satisfying to be able to take care of it. Not only that, but we are faster than everything they've got. And after some recoil in the leftover bringing us back a bit, we're still relatively healthy enough to try to wreak a little bit of havoc. So they can now decide to bring in whatever they want against the Dragon Dance setup Altaria, and they decide to go into the Kilowattrel. And old Wattrel over here is fast as hell, but not faster than me after 2 Dragon Dances. So I just go for that Dragon Claw, and that's just going to take care of it. So that is going to be a dead bird. Very fun to see our slow bird ass, outspeed the Kilowattrel. So that is what the hell we're talking about out here. Now, at this point, honestly, I have great coverage against pretty much everything they've got. And as they bring in the Chestnut, the buddy's name's Shield Hero, so we know it's going to be the Chestnut. This is not the kind of guy you like to touch that much. And, I mean, obviously they know I have the coverage with the Brave Bird, and they're going to, I imagine want to go for a spiky shield here. It's not really worth it for me to go anything crazy here. I just go for that Brave Bird. They do spiky shield. And then, ouch, I hurt myself a little bit. But that's fine, because even if I can just get myself that Brave Bird kill on this thing, I will knock myself out with the recoil. But Cloud Dragon is here for a good time and not a long time. Now, I kind of imagine, since they didn't go for that the Terra early, maybe the Chestnut doesn't have it. I'm just going to click Brave Bird again, but, they do, in fact, have the defensive Terra here. So it depends on what this thing's working with. Chestnut's a pretty defensive guy, and if I don't have a super effective hit, it's probably not going to be able to knock it out. And as they do go for the Terra Poison, boy, do I wish I would have clicked Earthquake. That would have been an insane prediction, obviously, but boy, would it have been satisfying. And the Brave Bird almost actually has enough to knock it out. I do, take some Rocky Helmet and then some recoil, and then I die. But honestly, Altaria never got killed by anybody today, and so that's a win. Not only that, but we forced out the Terra from the Chestnut, which is huge value in general. And also, we got it down to range where I can easily pick it off with pretty much anything else. So they try to poison jab me. I decide now the Hisuian Arcanine is kind of in a spot here to clean up, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I bring in the Statue Boy, who is now in range to be able to knock this thing out with a Flare Blitz, and I'm not really worried about a Spiky Shield. Look, they can go for it, that's fine. I'm going to take a little bit of chip, but in general, the Statue Boy doesn't really give a damn. So, we do touch the spikes, of course, and it does give it, we doesn't even have leftovers. It has the Rocky Helmet, so it doesn't do much. Arcanine's still chilling. I can then outspeed, finish this dude off with a Flare Blitz that doesn't run the risk of missing like a Head Smash would. So that takes care of Chestnut, and now at this point their final mon is going to be the Gengar, which obviously outspeeds me because I'm not going to be Choice Scarf. But the good thing is, unless it has like a Focus Blast, I should be able to live any attack it wants to throw at me at this health. So they bring in the Ghostly Fella, and my ass is just ready to, smash his face in with their Flare Blitz. Take some chip from the spikes and the Stealth Rock, gets rid of any potential for a Focus Sash, and they do outspeed. They decide to actually go for the Destiny Bond, which honestly is a pretty baller move. It allows it to take me down with it when I knock it out, which obviously I have Mons in the back, and the Flare Blitz does just destroy it. But it does get the small W in being able to take me out with it. So Arcanine is like, oh shit, I actually done messed up. So that is going to take care of Arcanine, but that's going to be the end of the game. I've got the Mons in the back, and so that's going to do it. Listen, thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate the support on these videos. You guys have been amazing. And here's to a new year of some banging nonsense I hope to come out with. And I'll catch you later. Peace out.